Welcome to the show. We're live with Prepper Talk Radio. Super excited to be on the show with you guys tonight, especially on the live. Love doing the lives where we get to interact with the people that are with us, read the comments, listen to the answer questions, and actually get educated ourselves, because we've got some really qualified people that watch on a regular basis and provide great feedback and great educational material. So we're super excited to bring to you this episode, because this is the first episode as of that we hit after hitting 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Right? I'm like, this is awesome. We made it. And,
it's crazy because when we started this journey, originally we weren't thinking about YouTube. We weren't thinking about all the other stuff, right? So then this last year when we relaunched, we were at what, 248 followers a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now we broke 1,000 followers on there. But
now we're just starting. Now it has just begun.
That's just begun on YouTube. But what's even more exciting is we've got over 16,000 downloads in the last 30 days.
Yeah. Today was the highest. Actually,
on our podcast.
I just posted in our on our socials that we had 16,200. I checked it today and we were 16,500. So we're going the right direction. Thank you so much, everybody who's sharing the word and spreading the word. We really appreciate it. So next week on the live, we're going to have our contest. We're going to actually announce the winner. So if you're not in our Facebook group, go get in our Facebook immediately. You go to our Facebook page, which is Prepper Talk Radio. Then you'll see a tab that says More. Click on that, go to Groups, and then click on that, and then it'll take you to the group that we're talking about is Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. You can actually just search for the group if you want as well, and join the group as soon as possible, because that's where we're going to be pulling the names from next week. When I think we're going to do it live on the show, aren't we? Next week.
That's the
plan. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna, if you're with us live next week, which would be April 26th. We're going to be doing the 5-ounce silver bar and the Jace case. And we're super excited to be able to do that and then continue to grow from here and just really grow the show. We've got a lot of things that we're planning. We've got some great events. Let me just quickly run through the events coming up. May 20th, we got Utah. That's going to be in Utah County. And that's going to be a celebration of our Second Amendment rights. It's going to be a fun day. Saturday, the 20th, come out and enjoy that. If you go to Shootah, SHOOTAH events.com and if you check out, enter the code Prepper Talk and you get 15% off. I think their discounts stack. So if you have like a large family or you're buying extra tickets, or there's all the discounts, I'm pretty sure they stack. And so you might be able to get a pretty good deal, but use code Prepper Talk and get another 15% off. And then we've got next week, this is kind of a little bit of an announcement, but next week we're going to have Chris Turpin on, and he's going to he's the one who runs the Be Prepared Expo. Last year he launched it, and this year we're going to be a big part of it as well for 2023 in Farmington, Utah. That's June 2nd and 3rd. So it's got some exciting things coming up. Not to mention,
there's all this doom and gloom going on in the world, and we've got some exciting things.
Right. We got some. In fact, some of the exciting things we're going to talk about today is what is on your prepper bucket list. What are some things that if money was no option, if you could have anything you wanted, what would you get for your prepper, for your preps? What would you do? What would you get? What would you prepare? What would you do?
Dream prepping scenario.
Yes.
Yeah, usually the bucket list is left for kind of the end of life, with the last year, after retirement, right? And that's not what this is meant for, right? In my opinion, I think we're limited on time. We've got to do these things now. It's best to write goals and write these things down and work towards them, because, for me, I find if I write them down, it's more real. It's something I'm constantly seeing. I've got my mind on, and that usually makes things happen for me. So that's where this bucket list, a written bucket list, not just a bucket list up here, right?
Melissa just popped in. I want a freeze dryer so bad, right? That's a bucket list. Yeah. For most people, that's not practical, but that's perfect. That's a perfect example of a bucket list item, right? We all need to be shooting for something, right? For me, it's we can go super crazy with this, but like it's sustainable self-reliance. I would like, ideally I would be farther out of town than I am now. I would be more connected with nature than I am now. Would I have a freeze dryer? Oh yeah. Would I have a big shed smoker in the backyard? Oh, you bet I would. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's less tech stuff. Freeze dryer, yes, a little more techy, but there's less tech stuff involved in my ideal than I don't want a smart home. I don't need a smart home. Right.
I don't want anything smart.
I don't like
Not
a
smarter than
smart
me.
fridge lasts 2 months to 2 years. Like, and then that 1970s ugly mustard or like 1960s avocado freezer is still cooling your beers and your sodas and everything else in the garage, right? I know there's someone on here that has one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of beer, I saw the funniest meme from, this is totally a sidetrack. Sorry, a little squirrel here. There was this funniest meme that I saw that it said, it was Babylon Bee. So we all know that Babylon Bee is an amazing satire thing. It says, Mormon man wishes he drunk beer so he could boycott Budweiser.
I didn't see that one. That's a great one.
I was like, you know what? I can relate to that.
That hits close to home.
Yeah, I want to be able to boycott Budweiser too right now. Anyways, sorry, sidetrack, little squirrel.
No, but that's awesome. That's
well, yeah,
awesome.
I think Scott, you mentioned self-reliance. I want to expand on that and say self-sufficiency, right? Because there is a difference between the two. Most of us, we have our own homes, we have our own families. We are self-reliant. We don't really rely on anyone other than ourselves. For the most part, self-sufficiency is a bit of a different turn, or it's more like producing your own food, and no one can truly be self-sufficient. Self-reliant, yes, okay, we could argue that, but to be truly self-sufficient it is impossible, but we can always be working towards that. So that's on my bucket list, right? Is to be self-sufficient. So it's always an unattainable goal that I'm reaching towards.
And that goes to our last conversation in our prior podcast. I'll kind of bring it back in a little bit. I mentioned the idea of that community, right? Building that community, like growing and going to your farmers markets, that being your community center instead of, your Kroger grocery store,
instead of the mall
as the anchor point with all these little strip mall stuff next to it. Like, dude, like every Friday night we pull up in the town park and we, instead of having, a Kroger, we all go in and we swap vegetables and swap, I don't know,
whatever. Yeah.
Like, hey, I make knives now. Cool. I'll trade my knives for chickens. Whatever you need.
I saw today as I was driving home, taking my son to school, I saw a Spartan Jeep, I think. And I was like, oh, that looked so sexy to me. I want one of my bucket list items as I see these cars, these trucks that have they have the railings on the outside and they have the axe and they have the gear and the ladder, the rooftop tent. I'm like, I start salivating. I'm like, oh man, if I had the money right now,
so that's the bug out vehicle. Is that
a bug out vehicle? To me, that's like, I salivate when I see those on the road, and I'm like the green-eyed jealousy monster just comes.
But don't salivate too much, Parrish, because most of those, they've got loans on them. They're crazy expensive, and most of them don't use that very often as well. They have to justify, you know what, I got this rig with all this stuff on it, I gotta go use it, what should we do? Right. Like, yeah. Oh, so-and-so has the boat, we should get a boat too. Well, I guess we should use it. So where should we go?
But that would be a bucket list item for me.
Yeah,
a bug out truck that's so loaded. And I bet you Stan would be like, yeah, I got one of those and I could probably build one for you. Yeah. So anyways, I just salivate over those. I think
I think we need to start bringing up pictures as we're talking about this and do screen shares, because there might be something pretty sweet over there, right? Like, for example,
you got something in mind?
Everyone else is like, I want this big Jeep or something. Dude, I want a 1960s Dodge truck.
That's
and I want to have
have the chicken. You want that chicken in front.
I want chickens. Exactly. And I want my wooded areas around me. Like, this is almost it right there. That could be it. But like, I want to go old school and I want to have it be carbureted. I want to be able to modify my engine. I want to have a hydrogen on demand system connected up and rigged up to it. I want to have everything. There's so many things I want to do. Like, I want to be able to back into a little camper and take the family go camping. Just have a nice little shell camper on the back of that. But I don't want. I see those Gladiators also, and let's pull that up real quick. Jeep. Whoops, if I could type right. Jeep Gladiator. Or no, you said Spartan.
Gladiator's fine.
Yeah,
I'm okay
it's
with
a
the
version.
Gladiator.
Yeah.
But it's the Spartan was the one I saw today on the road, and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, that looks so freaking sexy.
Like that's like overkill. Like, and yeah, the loan on that, the payments on that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to pay $1,000 a month for that. Like I want
Neither do
whatever
I.
I want I want paid off, right? But there's other things I want. Like I want a new 4Runner. Oh my gosh, so much. I would love not the brand new ones. I want for my daily driver. I want a 2008 Toyota 4Runner.
4th gen V8.
That's funny. Melissa says, overkill. What's that? Right? This is the bucket list day. We can overkill. This is the overkill day. Like, let's talk about it. I love it. Oh, I love
trying to get this to pull up and share.
Debbie's got a great one here. Property away from everyone and an underground bunker to house all my food. That would be so cool to have like an underground bunker that was not only for food, but like for where like what are those? What do you call them? The safe. If somebody attacks you, you can go in there.
A safe room.
Safe room. Yeah, it'd be cool for a safe room as well.
Yeah, there's so many things. Oh man, I could go crazy. Like if I had, I'd actually want this to be a little brighter blue. So I'd probably wrap it. I'd put a rack on the top, just a flat panel rack. I would have on the inside back, I would put some mounting racks on the inside and have in the very back of the vehicle. So right over here, I don't know if you can see my cursor on this, but right here in the back panel, I would put in there some racks that I would put my first aid kit, all my stuff would be off the floor. It'd be racked up and connected to the sides. And I would definitely put a lift on this. And Shane's got the lift I want broadcasted across his t-shirt right now.
Have you seen those trucks too that have like the bed of the truck on the side though? It has like you pull down the light, the brake lights and stuff, and there's like a compartment in there, and they pull the stuff out, and there's like a shovel, a gun, or something like that. Like that goes along the inside, like a hollow. There's like the side of the truck is hollowed out and made put stuff in there. I'm like, dude,
Paris, I just cool. Scott, I just sent you guys a link, or I put it in the private chat, a link to my ultimate bug out vehicle if you want to check that out.
Can we pull it up for the team?
Yeah, it's just in the private chat there, just a link.
Copy.
If you see that one.
Yep. Here we go.
This is on my bucket list, by the way.
Oh, are you kidding me? That actually, I would 100% put that on my bucket list. Let's share.
I figured you'd probably like that, Scott.
Oh yeah, that's the kind of truck.
That's one of the ones I want. Yeah,
that's worthy.
It's only about $100,000, so
I know,
or more. As you see that there, probably $120,000.
So back to,
and that's just barely getting started. Probably with all the stuff you could add on if you wanted.
You could keep going from there. Yeah, absolutely.
And then an engine pump to go in the water. That's a good idea, Melissa.
Yeah, it's the snorkeler. Yeah.
Oh, dreams.
Another dream that I have is just to have. I went to a conference, that conference I was talking about earlier, and I met a guy there that's working to get completely off grid, and he's got a whole solar setup where he's got the panels, and then he's got the battery banks. And that would be, I think that would be cool too, to have the ability to go, not the traditional, because I appreciate that what's happening with the solar, but the one thing that bugs me about it is that it's still kind of controlled by the grid. Like if the grid's shut down, the solar doesn't continue to work, or there's no batteries to kind of store energy for future, unless you wire it properly, or you have a special, you pay a little extra for that. But typical solar, if you don't have that extra battery pack or those extra battery packs, it's not really an off-grid as much as you might think it might be. So
yeah, solar is on my bucket list as well, and I won't even call it a bucket list. It's just on my list, right? The Prospector AEV, that's just ridiculous. To be completely honest, that's just ridiculous. A lot of things would have to align for me to get that thing, and so very low on the list. Very cool, but solar very high on the list to be self-sufficient in my own power.
Those of you who've been listening for a long time know that we do this pretty much for free. But if you want to support the show, get Shane and I a Prospector and get
Exactly. Get 3 of them. Or
Yeah.
Gladiator. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be someone out here that has that kind of money. We're not beggars. We're not beggars, and we're not choosers.
Yeah, we don't need that.
But yeah, that bucket list is just fun, something to talk about. And I that's my brothers are very much car guys, right? I have very little to no interest in cars, right? Give me something practical that I can use. I can drive straight across the world without a road in that truck on 40-inch tires. That's practical to me.
There's actually a guy who did that. He traveled across the United States without using paved roads.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a guy. He had a little documentary or vlogumentary, or whatever they call it on YouTube. And I was like, dang, this guy traveled the whole thing without paved. The goal was, and I think he did it.
Oh, so just dirt roads, not necessarily just back roads. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I bet you if Backroads is on here, I bet you he would be able to tell us.
I wonder if I saw there's a video I saw a long time ago. I don't know. I shouldn't say a long time ago. It's last year, of a guy doing that, and he got to a place where he was stuck because he's like, crap, there's a road in every direction. He's like, I've got to find a way to cross without touching a road,
touching pavement. Yeah,
and he didn't want to touch pavement at all. And he found like a lumber supply just like a couple hundred yards away from where he was, and he just pulled over the lumber and drove across the lumber so he didn't touch the road. And I'm like, I guess technically that counts. But I was just like, that was hilarious. And I'm like,
I was thinking he got a shovel and just shoveled dirt onto it, so he just drove across the dirt.
But I'm like, getting back to prepping though, it's like, yeah, having those kinds of experiences increases your ability to prep better, right? The life experiences, like setting up a battery bank, setting up your solar, like learning how to do that, doing it yourself, that's way more valuable than just getting it, right?
Yeah.
Having the HVAC guy come out a few weeks ago and help replace my furnace, like I could have had him do it all by himself, and I wouldn't have learned anything. I would have been gone and it'd have been in. But like being able to sit and watch and learn and have him show me where to connect wires, like it's actually pretty easy to connect one of these suckers. Like if you're replacing them. So I'm like, okay, next time if I need to, I could buy one through him wholesale and I could set it up myself. Would I want to? No, I'd probably rather have Leland do it. He's way smarter than me anyways. But getting the knowledge going is so vital. Like that's why I love having you guys. It's like I'll have an idea and I'm like, oh, what about this? And I'd say probably 90% of the time, one of you guys has either studied it, done it, or is looking at, it's on your list. But like, there's a conversation that can be had, or you can be like, oh, I know so-and-so's an expert on this. You can point me to it. And so it's like, boom, back to community. So part of my prepper bucket list is a huge community where we're closer together, where we can bounce ideas off each other and be like, hey guys, I want to do this wind turbine. Is it windy enough over here? Do you think that'll work? Or I want to set up this water turbine in our local creek where we're all getting water from and we can power something else. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah.
Hey, Mike, your wife and my wife can hang out.
And
while they can travel while we hang out. Right?
I guess I will miss her. Oh, dude, you better hope your wife didn't read that.
Oh, that's on YouTube now for life.
Yeah, dude. You've been together for 36 years or something coming up this June. So I think after that long, you could pretty much say that and still be okay.
Yeah, and Mike, you also mentioned the detached garage, the man cave, the shop, right? Be able to build things. So that's, that's on my bucket list. I actually built one. I have one on my property, but adding all the wood shop tools, the metal shop tools, right? I want to do a forge. I want to be able to work with metal, work with wood, and make pretty much whatever I might need or the community might need for bartering and trade. That's very bucket list for me. And you got to have a place to do that. So the detached garage or shop building, whatever you want to call it, is big on my list, and having all those tools as well.
I finished not too long ago the book 1 Second After.
Yeah.
And it's about an EMP being, nuclear bomb being blown up over the United States in several spots. I actually talked with a scientist about EMPs, and we might have him on the show here pretty soon because he's got a really fantastic way to explain how earthquakes kind of happen. And I think it would be helpful for us to help get prepared. He's a prepper, really big prepper as well. But anyways, he was telling me, I read that book and I thought to myself, as I was reading, they didn't, after 30 days, most of that whole community was completely ready to start starving, and they had to go start foraging and doing that kind of stuff. So I was like, how in the world, with what, I mean, for me, it's totally foreign. Like, I can't imagine not having 30 days or 90 days of food. Like, I just was shocked. So I want to have, I think, you know, I'm just that kind of a guy, I guess. I'd love to have enough food that I could take care of my family and then the neighbors, and not have to worry about my whole, even my block, if possible, to not have to worry about starving. I would just love to get everybody on my block 3 to 6 months of food storage to say, look, here's for you, here's for you, here's for you, here's for you, here's for you. Like, I would just, if I had the money, I would definitely want to. And again, this is bucket list time. So money's not an option. What do you want to do? If you could do anything you want to do, part of me wants to do it, but then part of me is like, you know what, if I do it for them, then what did they learn? And
that's okay. If you do it for them, what do they learn? But if they work for it, once the crisis hits, they've earned it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
And I can hold on to it
to earn their keep. And that's like identifying the list of things that need to be done. If the grid's down, if there's nothing else going on, what do we need to do to keep society growing and moving? Right.
Yep.
That's when you get everybody involved and you go down and raid the local library and make sure everyone's working on a skill.
Yeah.
And when I say raid, I mean you're checking out legally all the books you can check out. Not to be confused or conflated with active crime, right?
Not what's happening in Chicago and most of the Walmarts. I mean, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right.
Speaking of that, though, I just actually purchased, and I know I texted you guys in our text chat group, guys, earlier today. And Shane, you picked it. I don't know if you picked it up recently, but I just picked up the Book of Herbal Remedies by Nicole Pellion.
Yeah,
and I'm excited because there's another book called Do It Yourself Survival, No Grid, Off Grid, Do It Yourself Projects, and then there's another book that was like off grid, backyard survival, like how to grow a garden on 1/4 of an acre or something like that. And then this Nicole Pellion book. I'm trying to build a library. I'd love to have a library. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, and I might be crazy, but I watch those old movies or old TV shows where they show those rooms where the guy
big
has
library,
a huge, like it's all the way to the ceiling, one room just with books. I'm like, oh man,
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, like a Beauty and the Beast kind of a library. I would love to have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that as well.
We need to get rid of the man caves and go back to the libraries, to the dens.
Right.
We need a. You gotta have them both. You gotta have them both. But yeah, if it's just a man cave, yeah, absolutely scrap it, get rid of it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a lot of those.
Repurpose it, make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Have a library man cave. Hybrid library / man cave.
yeah, we were talking a little bit about food storage, and there's a couple of comments here, Melissa and Mike. Yes, Mike, I have heard about a rice shortage coming up here, and of course, it's engineered, it's manufactured, right? One of the easiest things to store, though, is rice and beans. It's super easy to store, lasts a long time, and freeze dried. I love freeze dried; it is the way to go. But yeah, it's extremely expensive. But I think also a problem with freeze dried, just my own personal comments, and maybe Scott will agree with me as well, is it gets old. You got to have some variety. You can get that just used to. You don't want to eat it. It just depends on the brand. I mean, there's a lot of great brands out there. There's a lot of bad brands as well. And if you have too much of it, it becomes old really quick.
Well, that's the thing. If you've got a freeze dryer, you're making your own
whatever you want,
and then you freeze dry it and set it aside, right? Then you've got to have water catchment, water filtration, which you need anyways. But like, that's when you look at your whole system and you're like, okay, I want a greenhouse. I want chickens. I want alpacas. I will have my alpacas.
I knew that was going to be on your bucket list.
I almost threw up a picture of them because they're just so dang cute and useful. And I'm sure they'll be tasty in the apocalypse. But I want my alpacas. I want my chickens. I want my quail. I want some rabbits. I don't need cattle. It's too foreign for me to focus on. I'll trade for cow meat. Right?
Exactly. I got plenty of neighbors with cows.
Yeah.
And we'll just figure to barter something.
But I would love if we're going to go like spare no expense. At PrepperCon 2016, we had a company come that builds foam homes. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And they're bulletproof.
What?
They do these steel reinforced foam insulative homes. It's this foam block that's like 8 inches thick. And you can build 3-4 stories tall with these things. They're really strong and sturdy. But you can also completely temperature control the interior. It's fantastic. And I'm like, my wife's like, I want a palm tree. And you can't do that in Utah where we live. And so I'm like, we could do that inside. Have a palm tree growing in the house.
What?
And I'd put a banana tree, a palm tree, spare no expense. I would have a bowling alley, and I would have.
I know the house for sale that you could buy, Scott.
I would have a huge pantry, and that pantry, on the other side of the pantry, would open into a food processing center, and on the other side of that food processing center, it opened to my huge connected greenhouse, so that I wouldn't have to leave the house if I didn't want to. Right, and oh man, it would be so cool. Like that'd be ideal if I had to stay in Utah. If I didn't have to stay in Utah, I'd try to find a place that's more acclimatized to doing everything I want to do. But yeah, that would be so dialed in. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, one thing I have on my bucket list that I'm going to mention here that has to do with that same thing. I've always wanted to build a shipping container home.
Yep, me too.
And so that's
cool.
on my bucket list. I could build them in my sleep, even though I've never done it before. But we're talking about homes and living places and living off grid. That's one of my goals, is to live off grid. And I still need to build the house, right? I can live in the garage I built. We can live there. I've slept many nights in there, and I love it. But having something built specifically, a cabin is my all-time favorite. What I want to do, I would love to do a shipping container home, but the log cabin is my all-time favorite thing I want to do for an off-grid home. That's in the plans. It's in the works.
Okay, I love this. I bring this up because Melissa gives us a good point. Her end goal is to make freeze-dried meals to sell, right? Gourmet meals, not just chili and eggs. I think anything you do in prep, any skill you obtain, anything you learn and do, like if you can monetize that, shoot, you're winning. Like you're winning.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is like the whole concept of passive preps, basically like having gravity fed water filtration systems, so I don't have to go and try to process the water every day, right? To have a grow cycle system set up with lights and everything, right? There's some maintenance that you have to do on those things, but like if I don't have to go out and buy fertilizer because I've got rabbits, and I'm taking the rabbits and I'm processing that for me, like all these things that can stack on top of each other to help the garden, those become more passive solutions.
I really like this is actually Sydney. Sydney, thanks. We were actually talking about you on our was it the other show or just recently? We were like, man, we got to have her on again. Anyways, but so I like this because we've been talking about things and gear and items, but a realistic bucket list could be skill sets. Like what are skill sets you want to have? What level of training do you want to be expert in a certain field of endeavor? I would love to be expert in like foraging. And so a bucket list, like medical training, being EMT trained or herbal medicine trained, like that would be so cool. I appreciate you bringing that up, Sydney. Thanks.
That's like,
it's not very glamorous though, right? It's not a whole lot of fun.
It's not as
right.
When you're the guy that can save that guy's life, you're like, man, I saved that guy's life because I was trained, or I saved my kid's life.
Yeah. Well, Sydney definitely makes it look glamorous on her TikTok channel. So
she sure does.
Oh my gosh, she is so good. Hey guys, if you're not following Prepstetter on Instagram and TikTok, go give her a follow, because there's, I don't think, a better, more clean and concise educator when it comes to understanding how to process and really how to store like canned foods, the different ways, methods. And she's got such a soothing voice. You'll just be like, yes, I'll start canning today. Thank you. And you'll just be like, oh, I'm going to go buy some jars. And she just gets you excited about it. And it's so soothing. It's like, well, why not? Right.
That's awesome.
Okay. This is awesome too. Okay. Knife throwing. It's weird, but it's fun. I would like to be better at killing animals and processing. I am too emotional with it.
Yeah, me too.
When you do your first processing, you're always super emotional. As you grow and do it, like you'll get less emotional. Like I remember my great grandpa hearing stories about him processing chickens. It was basically like, bam, okay, go cook this. Right. It is just
part of life.
It's part of life.
The same. Yeah.
But yeah, like I want to learn how to do knife making. I want to learn how to blacksmith. I definitely need more first aid training. But I know how to do a lot of things building wise. Like I feel like I've got enough skills that I can trade my time and do very well in a community, right? But yeah, we need to grow those skills and grow the community of those skills.
Because at the end of the day, if you have the skill sets, and let's say you didn't get to get your greenhouse or your cool, whatever before the grid goes down or before crap hits the fan, but you have the skills that you built and you learned and you became better at those skills, then you can build it when the crap hits the fan with, you can then build it at that point. So there's something to say with that old saying of you can either teach a man to fish and you feed him forever, or you can just give him a fish. And I just, as much as it's, sweaty and gross to have to learn all that stuff and get all those, it's not glamorous. It's not sexy to learn all that stuff. But man, like they say, and I think there's a saying, rednecks are going to save the world. Those are the guys who just get in there and work hard and get the job done. And I think there's some truth to that.
It's easy to bug out with your skills, right? Instead of with your stuff.
Everything that goes in here is lighter than everything that goes in the bag.
Yeah.
That's something you can take with you, right? Wherever you go, even to the next life, right? The next world.
Yeah. Which is cool because in that, again, referencing back to that book that I just finished, this 1 second after, at some point they realized we're going to have to go start foraging. We're going to have to go start hunting and doing things like that. And so they were able to even find seeds and start growing. And they really had to go back to that more rural culture. And so by the end of the year, what was sad is by the end of the first year, which is the 1 second after the book only is that first year, they had a community of about 10,000 people when their EMP hit. And then at the end, it was just under 1,000. So quite a few people passed away. But in the meantime, those 1,000 people were able to live in such a way that they could survive, and they had to go back to those original ways. That's really telling, because right now our system, the way it's set up, and this is maybe a side note here, but our system, the way it's set up, is that we can feed more people because we have a system. If the system goes down, one of the big problems is there's going to be so many people that are reliant on the system that they're going to pass. If they're not learning to be self-reliant, they're going to be the first ones to go in a grid down or in a significant emergency or extended emergency. So realistically, if you want to survive, you've got to be the kind of person that can either knows how to find food, make food, grow food, and keep going. That food is going to be the number one thing to be able to know how to do.
Yeah, if you really think about it, everything we do in life is to ensure that we have shelter, food, and water. I mean, if we had that, we wouldn't, if it came easily, we wouldn't need jobs, right? We wouldn't need transporting. We need cars to get to our jobs, right? We wouldn't need so many things if we had those basic needs taken care of. We just, we're obviously a very materialistic society. We got to have certain things because we've been programmed, into our lives. And if we had those basic needs taken care of, I think we would appreciate, life a little more. And that's another thing on my bucket list is time, just time, which equals freedom, freedom to move, freedom to do whatever I want at any time, and that's, realistically, we were born into a slave system where we were born into a prison planet, as they say, right? And we don't realize that we've created our own prison. We've created our own jail walls, and breaking out of that is the hardest thing to do. I mean, that's really what my whole bucket list is about, right? Is having my own time, my own freedom to do whatever I want, my own time. And that sounds selfish, but I think I don't think it is. I think it's a way God intended us to live here, and live our life the way we see fit.
Well, that's the whole thing about freedom and liberty. We have the freedom to do whatever we want, but if we make an immoral decision, or if we make the wrong decision, then we lose our liberties. And so freedom is different than liberty, and liberty is the goal. Liberty is to be able to have the ability to have my rights, which are given to us by God. It's not necessarily what country you live in. It doesn't matter what country you live in. Of course, it does matter what country you live in, because some of the countries don't recognize the God-given rights that we all have. But the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, our property, things to be able to have, and property is our work, what we do and what we build and what we create with our own hands. That's all should be protected, and that's all stuff that's part of that. And I love living in a place that has that kind of liberty, that kind of freedom, that I can do whatever I want. You can do whatever you want. Let's not infringe upon each other's life, liberty, or happiness, or the pursuit of those things. And as long as you don't infringe on me, I'm not going to infringe on you. We can live how, like, that's the deal. That's the end game. And right now in our world, we've got some people that are trying to stop that in a big way. And not to get too far off the topic here, but man, that's something that's on, it could be on a bucket list, to have and to maintain a place where we can have the freedoms to live the way we want to live in a liberty, in an environment of liberty.
Yeah. Amen. Amen to that.
That's so liberty. Yes. Right. Freedom. Yes. Peace.
Right.
Peace is what I want. And peace honestly comes from where your mind and heart are aligned in the same pursuits.
Good point.
And I want my kids to be safe because they're in a place of peace. I still want them to endure hardships, right? I don't want them to endure stupid ships, right? Things that we're all forcing upon ourselves because we're not standing up for our rights. So ideally, it'd be a situation where my kids are learning and growing similar to how I had to learn and grow. I had to face up to my stupidity as a youth, right? We all do. Yeah. But it's like, bucket list it. Like, oh man, I would eliminate some of the jackwagons in the neighborhood and move farther away from them, right? Eliminate the public education system because it's dumbing down America. It's dumbing down generation by generation. They teach more about nothing and less about how to actually do things. They don't want you to know how to do things.
Teach you more and more about less and less until you know everything about nothing.
Exactly.
I love that, dude. That's a great quote.
It is 100% true. I read the book, about 14, about 10, 12 years ago, called The Dumbing Down of America. And understanding the entire educational system. What?
Is that Skousen?
I don't remember who it is, but it basically brings up the point that the United States educational system is designed to make people factory workers, whether that factory is an actual factory or a 9-to-5 call center or whatever it might be that you do for your 9-to-5. It's designed to keep people okay with sitting in a block for 10 hours at a time, 8 hours a day, and not questioning it, and not thinking outside that box, outside that cube. And so what we need to do is create a life that you want to live now. That's like my bucket list is what I'm working on right now, is to create a more livable life. We're going to homeschool the kids going forward. I want to increase my backyard growth cycle of food, right? I want to more vegetation and more passive vegetation, more fruit trees, nut trees, all those types of stuff that's going to provide for my family year after year, that I do have to do less and less work for. Does that make sense? That's part of my bucket list, but those are like all actionable items that I'm working on now. And I think everyone needs to be making sure that what they're putting on their bucket list, they're actually writing it down somewhere, putting it up so they see it every day, and then creating an action item for each of those things to make those things happen.
Yeah. So do the crazy stuff, like dream big, but then also put some practical things on there that you can do today to move you towards that. Because if you don't put it on so to speak, if you don't even put it down on the list, you're definitely never going to have it happen. You don't even have a chance. But if you at least have it on the list, you might have a chance of obtaining it. That's what I think.
Yeah, amen. Agreed.
Oh man, I'm just like, okay, I got to go buy some alpaca. I don't know if I can have them in my neighborhood yet. I'll have to go check out what my
I guess you'll find out, right?
Are. Right.
That's awesome.
Oh, I need to go do that so bad.
Well, we've had some fun. What other bucket list items do you guys think we can have, or should we wrap it up?
I would like to have a couple different cannons.
Oh, dang.
Have you guys seen
with the flag flying above there, come and take it, right?
Have you guys seen this guy's made a soda cannon, and you can buy the parts. online, and it
AR-15 soda can.
The cannon is this long.
What?
And it's a soda can that you put into the cannon, and it'll launch that through a ballistic dummy and shred it. It is one of the most fascinating things I've seen in the last few months. It is horrible what it could do to things, but I want one. So if we're going to put bucket list items out there, I want them. Like, I also need to get new tomahawks. I need to get a couple new axes for felling trees and some to process them into log. I would like to have my own personal portable sawmill system. I would love that, because then I can roll it down to Shane's area and we could build him his log cabin, right? And if the gas is all gone and there's right, I can part it out onto the alpacas and we can take a herd trip down there, right?
So you need to make your alpacas a service animal, right?
Yeah, that's what somebody said. I love that. It's I think
Take
a fun
plane with me.
a fun bucket list for me would be I just want to have a sword, so I can just take once my bullets are done, I can just go take care of business with my
sword. Been reading the Book of Mormon too much there, Paris.
What sword though?
I would like to have like a long sword, maybe one that I could use with 2 hands, but double-edged sword with maybe a little bit of like engraving, carving stuff in there, just a little. I don't know. I just would
like Mike. Like Mike says, it's nice to have a bucket list, but remember, there's wants and needs, and we totally get that. But yeah, we definitely need to emphasize that here at the end. Some things are just wants, right? Who knows? Maybe I'll need a Dodge truck on 40-inch tires. I mean, who knows? You never know until you have it. But yeah, absolutely, Mike.
All my goals and dreams have just been deflated back to reality. Thank you, Mike. Now I'm going to be miserable the rest of the day.
That's awesome. It's important to take time to dream and to really think big about what you want to do, because sometimes we get stuck in the humdrum of every day, and that's part of the plan, is to keep us in a position where we are so distracted by all the different things that are coming at us with our work, with our bills, with our everything. I think it's important for us to really focus in on, wait a minute, I'm going to break away from this whole system, and I'm going to think about if I wasn't involved, if I could have anything I wanted, what would it be? And just dream big. If a human being has ever done it, you have it within you to do it too. And so I think that's something that we all have to take a moment every once in a while and just kind of dream and scheme. That's what my wife and I call it. We said, we're going to dream and scheme. And just see what comes out, just brainstorm and just dream and scheme and see what comes out. And some of it's going to be crazy and some of it's going to be realistic. And you focus in on the realistic stuff and kind of put the crazy stuff. And maybe one day, after all the stuff that's realistic today, tomorrow, the stuff that was crazy today might be realistic.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Those things fall off the list, right? Because you become not important. Or you realize, like you say, you don't need them. They're just and they become wants. You think they're a need. And I think that's happens all the time. Is that okay? You buy something, you think you need it, and realize, okay, I can live without this. So we've talked about simplifying our lives and being a prepper it's hard to live a minimalistic life, but I think there is something to that, to where you can be a minimalistic prepper and still have everything you need. So
agreed. The more you know, the less you need.
Yeah,
that's where I want to get to. Right? That's the minimalist approach to things, but it's like the more you know, the less you need. We get to that point, dude. Game on. Let's go play. And I think we all need to start setting better goals weekly of like, hey, what am I going to get done this week for my prepping? Like, am I going to put in a root cellar? Am I going to that's something you can do on a weekend, right? It doesn't have to be huge. Doesn't have to be deep, like just enough to put your food in. Outdoor cooling storage device, right? Find a project you can do in a weekend and do that project now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get 100 pounds of wheat or 100 pounds of rice, and I'm going to put it in containers, and I'm going to store it and seal it and put it in a safe place.
Right. And maybe you'll see, if you're following any other preppers, you'll see a class or a course, or you'll say, hey, you know what? Like, I follow a couple people who do chickens. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I can just reach out to them, DM them and see, hey, would you give me a private lesson on chickens? And you might have to pay for it, but it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
I just bought a class on how to grow microgreens. You know, I paid $80 or something like that for the class on microgreens, and actually we're going to try to get the guy on the show to talk about it. Maybe we'll have a discount code for you here pretty going forward. We'll see.
He's a good dude.
We'll see. And I wanted to learn how to do microgreens. It's something, and sprouting, which is, you know, in the same genre. Those are very important things. That's a great way to get protein through plants, is through sprouting and microgreens. Because you don't, you know, if it gets to the point where we're in a grid down scenario and you don't know how to get protein because the squirrels are all shot and dead because you killed them all, and the coyotes and you got to go really far to even get any kind of deer, you're going to want to know how to get some proteins. And there's some great ways to do that with microgreens and plant proteins. And so I think that's a critical skill. That's one of the things that I felt like I needed to do. So I went and bought the course, and I'm going to start that soon.
Awesome. You guys got me excited. I got to go do some more stuff. Bigger, better dreams.
Well, we're 5 minutes before the hour ish. And so if you guys want to share anything else, stop me. Otherwise, thank you guys all for being on the show today. We're super excited to have hit our 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And it's so cool to see 1K subscribers as we look at it. It's so thank you guys very much. Also, thank you all for listening on our podcast, because we hit 16,500 plus downloads in the last 30 days. We just had some great, what I feel like are some great milestones that we've hit in the last little while. And it's all because you guys are awesome and you're listening to us and our crazy ramblings and our crazy squirrel side trips and all the crazy stuff we're doing. And hopefully we're bringing some value to you guys as well. Just as a quick reminder, tell everybody that wants to be in on the giveaway for the Jace case to be in our Facebook group. Even if you're not in our Facebook group, just go. If you don't do Facebook, go add yourself to the Facebook group for just for the thing, and then get out, or have a family member in there. So at least you have a chance to be in on the drawing. And then we can get you a 5-ounce silver bar or because we're not going to, once you win, we're going to pull you out and give somebody else a chance. A Jace case, which is the antibiotic supplies. Also remember, May 20th in Utah County, Shutah, we're going to be there. Go to shutahevents.com, enter code PrepperTalk to get 15% off. And then next week, we're going to have Chris Turpin on, because we're preparing for the Be Prepared Expo that's going to be in Farmington, Utah, June 2nd and 3rd. That's coming up here pretty soon. And then just be watching in our groups, and we're going to probably start doing some email lists. So if you want us to have your email, please let us know and shoot us your email. We are at preppertalkradio@gmail.com. So shoot us an email and say, hey, add me to your list, because we're going to probably start doing email lists here pretty soon as well. But you've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio for the ready-minded, where we focus on God, family, and country. And we really appreciate you. And we hope you have a great week. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, guys.
See you next week.